So hey, I asked for some ideas for videos and I got a bunch of them. And the first one I saw on there was wacky worm. And the cool thing about fishing a wacky worm is it's the right time of year. Fish are moving up shallow and you can fish it, but there's a lot of different setups and there's a lot of different rods and there's a lot of different reels and there's a lot of different lines. There's all kinds of different variations. So I'm gonna kind of talk about my process when I'm fishing a wacky worm. First of all, my rod. I throw a carbon light, and this rod is actually a medium light. Now, light is a pretty light action rod, but the thing about it is you can skip this rod really, really well. I mean, it'll load that tip up and I can skip it up under stuff really well. And the other thing is, when you're fishing a wacky worm, I mean, look at it. It's got an exposed hook. When you're fishing a bait with an exposed hook, it's not hard to hook the fish. I don't need a whole lot of backbone to get the hook in the fish's mouth. So I like the medium light. Now, as far as the bait goes, well, let me talk line. Line, I use fluorocarbon. And the reason is because this bait is actually sinking through the water and I don't want the line to hold it up. If I was fishing really, really shallow, maybe I'd go to monofilament and it'd sink a little bit slower. I don't throw a leader, I just throw straight fluorocarbon. I like Sunline Sniper, but a good fluorocarbon, what pound test? Anywhere from 12 to 20, probably pick 14, 16 the most. So it just kind of depends on how heavy the cover is, what I'm around, how big the fish might be, but 16 is kind of my go-to line. Now let's talk hook. There's lots of different wacky worm hooks. This hook right here is an owner straight shank wide gap worm hook. It's just a straight 1/0 hook. What I've learned over the years is the very best hookup ratio if you're throwing a wacky worm is just a straight shank hook. When you look at that hook right there, it's just straight as an arrow. This right here, this setup will hook almost every bite you get. So I'm never worrying about if I'm gonna lose one, if I'm gonna miss him, am I gonna jerk too hard? You know, as far as hook set goes, I'm not pulling real hard, but I'm fishing a medium light rod, so I am gonna pull a little bit. The thing about it is what you fish from this point on. I'm gonna pull this wacky worm off of here. Now, when you pull it off this hook, this is a Strike King Ocho. I can fish it just like this, right in the egg sac, or I can put a nail weight in the head of the bait, and then it's gonna fall like this. Now, I like it both ways. It all depends on how deep I'm fishing. If I'm trying to fish like really 2 foot of water, then I don't want to wade in there at all. I'm going to fish it right in the middle on the egg sac. If I'm fishing, say, more 4, 5, 6 foot with a wacky worm, then I'm going to put a nail in there. And I mean, there's all different sizes of lead or tungsten weights that you can put in there. And I slide that nail in there. I might super glue it to keep it on there. I usually don't put a ring in the middle of my bait. I just like it this way. I either throw, this is a 5-inch Ocho, or I throw a 6-inch Ocho. I like the 6-inch a lot. It catches a little bit bigger size fish, but it just depends on where you're fishing and what you're fishing around. Now think about a wacky worm this time of year. You just throw it in open water. Basically, you don't work it hardly at all. You just throw it out there. Wherever you think a fish is, you let it sink to the bottom and you're watching your line the whole time. As you watch your line, you're looking for a little bitty tap. You get a tap, the fish ate it, you pull back and set the hook. If you ever feel anything heavy on there, most of the time, it's a fish. It's a bait that catches a ton of them and a lot of big ones.